2, 1. All right, welcome to Powered by Backers. I am here. This is Ask the Experts. I am here with Jeffery Potvin, or his friends call him JP. I'll give a quick little bio intro. Jeffery is an angel investor in multiple regions. He's invested in 55 plus companies. He's a member of the York, Spark, and GTAN Angels and screening committees, while being the driving force behind the OPN, the Open People Network. OPN is a group of angel investors helping accelerate the growth of early stage startups through the Supporters Fund and Pitch It series. Jeffery is a lifelong entrepreneur with a proven track record of building companies and reinventing existing businesses. Working with a list of great startups to enterprise clients over the years, Jeffery is a mentor, coach, and loves to climb mountains. Jeffery, welcome to the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that intro there?
Nope, that's perfect. That's
yeah.
Good.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
So you and I have known each other for a few years now. I actually pitched a previous venture, which I still have the 3HL on or at one of your sort of, I think, early on pitch it events about 3-4 years ago. We met at a function prior to that. So, we've talked over the years. We've been at some of your pitch it events. So I guess I don't want to bastardize what pitch it is, but tell the audience a little bit about what pitch it is and what brought you to that point to start Pitch It and the fund.
For sure. So I guess maybe to go back a little bit to when we started it, the whole premise behind why we started OPN or the Pitch It series was for years previous to that, I've been an angel investor for over 10 years, but just single investor doing it myself. And when about 4.5 years ago, I guess, sort of 5 years ago, some of the investments that we'd made had come to us and just said, hey, look, we need more pitch time. We need a way to get exposure. How can you help us? And it was kind of just left at that, and it kept reoccurring, coming up again and again. So we decided, why don't we create an event? We'll call it Pitch It TO. And we have a free event at one of the spaces that we invest in that was running one night, and we could run this there. So that was where the inauguration occurred, and we set it up, and it was, I guess, if you will, manicured pitches. They were of companies that we invested in, a couple of them, and they came out and pitched, and we provided feedback from angel investors. So we had advisors, business advisors sitting on a panel. You pitched for, at the time we set it up as 11-minute pitch, and then you had a few minutes of feedback from these advisors. 60 people showed up, and everybody said, you know what, this is great. You should do this more often. And so we decided from there, we tried again, and close to 70 shows later, and 4 years later, that's what we do. So we help startups learn the facets behind how to pitch, how to understand their business better, what are they trying to go after in the market segment, and then, of course, getting them groomed and ready for investment, which is putting together a concise pitch. We took the 11 minutes and broke it down to 7 minutes. So now your pitch is only 7 minutes long. And that's because we feel that you can do everything you need in 7 minutes so that you can get to more questions and be more interactive. And inside of that, it's all fundamental based. So how does your business make money? How does your business work, operate, and solve a problem? And then from there, we built out the Supporters Fund. So instead of me investing directly, we created a fund, which is called the Supporters Fund. And obviously, we're a big supporter of the ecosystem. We created that. And we brought angel investors as LPs into the fund. And then we use that as a vehicle to not only help groom and get startups ready for investment, but we also invest in the startups while they're going through this process.
So, and I think I recall, but maybe things have changed. You had raised $1 million at one point for the Supporters Fund, and now you're going on to a second round, or tell us a little bit about how that's going.
Correct. We're now on our second fund, which is a $5 million fund. And we are raising against it, but we're investing at the same time. So we've invested in a bunch of companies already to date.
Cool. So it's interesting. Let's take sort of what you just talked about, the 7-minute pitch. you kind of touched on it. What are some of the things that you're telling companies specifically that they should be talking about in that 7-minute pitch? What are if you had to give 3 tips that they need to focus on during that 7-minute pitch, what would you say that is?
Well, in 7 minutes, you want to be able to talk about a couple things, but the problem and the solution are the fastest 2 components. But how does your business make money? So I think the key to anything you do in a pitch or a presentation is keep it simple, keep it clean, and keep it to the point. You don't have to repeat yourself. You don't have to talk about things that are irrelevant. You're trying to make it easier so that it interests people to want to go into a deeper discussion with you. You're trying to get people to bond with you around the problem you're solving. You want to show traction. So the whole thing comes down to you have to de-risk your business as much as you possibly can. The more risk that's there, the less people are interested to come on board. And de-risking it means having an MVP client, having a product that's fully functional, having an audience that's interested in what you're doing. And then, of course, having someone that backs you. And that could be anything from an incubator, accelerator, to an angel investor, a mentor, a coach, a team that's on your side. Every little piece helps you de-risk your business, which then proves to other people that you've got something and people are interested to get behind you.
Right. Yeah, it's that building the momentum, right? It's, there's a lot of different people or factors that go into building that momentum. And obviously the more momentum you have, the more support you have, the more people, whether it's customers, you mentioned, your sort of early client base, that obviously demonstrates to an investor, right, or a backer, as we call them, that you have something's there. You're getting that validation right along the way. I like what you said. So the 3 things I would say is, you said a problem, a solution, and then how you make money. That's sort of to simplify it a little bit.
Yeah, that's the easiest way for sure.
Cool. So you mentioned that you've invested in the bio I read there earlier, 55 plus companies. Are you at liberty to disclose some of the companies, maybe what you saw in them and maybe where they've gone, or do you have any some examples maybe of companies that you've invested in that have gone on to be, I don't know necessarily the unicorn status, or maybe you do have one in your repertoire, but talk about sort of what you saw in those companies and maybe where they've gone on to, and what sort of what you saw, I guess.
For sure. And
keep it simple, right?
Keep it simple, for sure. When we look at companies, or when I look at a company, or we in general look at companies, you're looking at, because we invest in early stage pre-seed and seed round companies, a lot of them either are pre-revenue or just starting to get into revenue. So they've got a small MRR, or they're starting to grow that. So a lot of the things that we look for are basically really generated around the entrepreneur. What type of entrepreneur are they? Are they no holds bar that are going to do whatever it takes to win? And and I mean that in a classical way, that they're doing it in a clean way. They're not doing this in a dirty way, but they're generating the right next steps to grow their business. So, and what I mean by that is they got the hustle. They've got the passion to kick ass, and they won't take no for an answer. They're not going to blow this up, and that whole thing around fail fast. Ridiculous. It's not about how do I get into something, raise funds, and fail. It's how do I pivot? How do I grow? How do I see the landscape? How do I understand where I'm going? And a lot of the companies that we invest in, it really comes down to that entrepreneur. How driven is she or he? And are they looking at all aspects of the business? Do they eat, breathe, and sleep this? Do they know when something's going wrong before it's happened? Are they so in tune with the market that they're predicting the outcome of what's going to happen in the next 6 months because they really understand the market that well? How tapped into the market are they? And that goes back to how they monetize their business, how they show the market size. Are they going after the whole market? Are they looking at a segment? Do they see that they're unique? There's a lot of little facets in there, but really it comes down to that owner. How is that person driving that business? Are they almost psycho about it? And when they are, you know that they're going to win. And that to me is primary. And then of course, how they're going to generate funding, how they're going to make money. Those things are key, because when you're a VC or an angel, you want an outcome because you want to keep investing in companies. So you've got to have some sort of reoccurring value that they're going to sell in some point in time. It's not always a guarantee. We don't do this for that. You're trying to build up on it. But most of these companies, they all have a great vision. And are they in it for the long haul, and they're going to make it happen?
Right. Perfect. Yeah, I like. So I think touching on the point, the fail fast. I agree with what you said 100%. I think what you then alluded to is the fail fast, but within the same organization. So being able to pivot, right? So trying something, maybe failing, and then realizing that it's failing or realizing it's not working, and then quickly being able to pivot and try something different, right? And that's, I think, rather than just completely walking away, which obviously no investor would want to see that. But I think it's that ability to constantly pivot. That's interesting. And you're probably the third person out of the 4 or 5 people we've interviewed in the past few days that's talked about from an investor's perspective that they look at the entrepreneur and their drive and determination and perseverance and persistence as a key component to who they want to back, right? And we talk about it, backing the jockey, right? That's kind of the concept there. I want to touch on a point. I was at your pitch at TO City Hall there probably about 2-3 months ago, and I was really sort of impressed with the topic that you were discussing, and you kind of mentioned it, and I think it's cool that you said it this way. You said she, he, right? She or he, putting the she first, which is great. I mean, they're the same, they're equal. The pitch at TO that I was at, though, at City Hall was focused on female entrepreneurs and on the lack of maybe exposure for female entrepreneurs. And I know you had 2 panels of, I think it was 4 each, with female entrepreneurs, all sort of doing a number of different things, talking about their experiences. Can you touch on that aspect? I think, maybe if you want to recall some of the stuff they said, where do you see that maybe in the new normal, and the way things are going? Touch on, just sort of female entrepreneurship and the investment space around female entrepreneurship.
For sure. Well, I think you mentioned it. Everything is equal as much as we possibly can make it equal on our end. We want to have as many we have, and we always include as many minorities, females, everybody.
Right.
OPN is based around that principle. We don't want any sort of discrimination. I actually think it's ridiculous that in today's world we still have to deal with those things, but we support everybody. And in supporting everybody and helping push everybody forward, there's obviously going to be stumbling blocks, and people have a story and have created a story around things that they want to get behind. In our case, we want to get behind everybody that wants to make a difference and have change. So from the investment side in female companies, my personal perspective from being on the different screening panels, and obviously we see about 150 companies a month. 70% of those are Canadian, 30% are global. And they are a very wide range of minorities, females, male-driven companies, and it is so diverse. It's actually incredible on what we see. And maybe there is a lacking of female companies that are coming to the forefront. And my analysis to this is that I think in just our childhoods and how we've all been brought up, that there actually is a lot of female companies out there. They're just not looking for funding. And the reason they're not looking for funding is because I find that they are more meticulous on why they're taking funds. Honestly, might be smarter, because 100% smarter on how they approach this. And it's because they're looking at the right opportunity to take money. Right. They're not just asking for money because they created a company. They're looking at it going, I'm going to de-risk this so I get the best opportunities. So I think you'll find a lot of these female company-run founder companies, they're not coming in with minimal revenues. They're coming in with larger revenue-based models that they've already structured, and they're looking at ways to grow their companies faster.
Do you think that's a factor, though, that maybe they've been turned down or they're afraid? I mean, I get the prudent aspect. I agree with that.
I'm not sure.
But do you think they see that maybe they're not provided the same opportunity to even know where to go? Or, I mean, I get what you're saying with the prudence, you know, and I mean, maybe that's not necessarily male, female, but there's certain entrepreneurs would be a little more prudent in what type of investment maybe
it's
they
more
want
a
to
risk
bring on.
factor.
You think so?
It's more risk. Like, everybody can read the news, read the media, and figure out where can I go for these things. So a lot of the time, people are going to their lawyers, they're going to whomever is close to them that they're going to get the most feedback from, that's going to help them go through this lifestyle or this ecosystem and figure out where they net out. And because we've been opened up to everybody, we find an equal flux. But then when you are going into more granular areas, maybe there's not as many younger people going in this direction. Maybe there's not as many females. Maybe there's not as many minorities. And really, at the end of the day, the voice that's being heard is that, hey, people, get out from underneath the couch, get out there, show who you are, and talk more. And I think the more that you get behind these different groups, the more people are going to start stepping up.
Starts perpetuating.
Exactly. And you know what? You need that voice. So regardless if it's true, untrue, right, in the middle, who cares? It's creating a voice. And the voice is that we need more entrepreneurs. We need more people to step up. And with the female-based voice, it's huge right now. And more female entrepreneurs are coming out of the woodwork, but they're not really coming out. They were already in the woodwork. They were already building companies. They just weren't coming for funding. And now they are saying, you know what? I should come for funding because I've built myself a great company. And that's the companies we want. We love those types of companies. And you know what? Sometimes, you know, I think we had the stat was 90% of the companies that come to us have never even gone for funding before. And why is that exciting? Well, that's because they were the ones that were hidden, just building something up slowly. And now they're saying, if I want to grow this even faster, I'm going to need some funding. So that's just an educational piece. So is there discrimination occurring? Personally, I don't know. I don't see that. I don't see a female company come in and pitch and everybody laughs and says, go away. Not at all. They come in, everybody is equally treated, and everybody says, oh, I like them. Let's get behind them. So there's equal opportunity. But the problem is that you're seeing is that if you have 10 companies pitching, one only happens to be female, and you have 8 male and 1 minority. Well, why is that? Well, because the volume of the difference between minority and female founders and male founders is quite significantly different. So now you're building that base up, and I guarantee you in 3 years, you're going to have 6 of 10 companies pitching that are going to be female. 3 are going to be, 4 of them will be male, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them are going to be, or 4 of them are going to be minority based.
Or all of them will be very diverse. Yeah.
Exactly. Because you're now picking the base up and you're getting people out of their shells and you're talking more.
And that's, I mean, with our platform, obviously with backers, you know, the whole concept is investing in opportunity, right? So the idea, you know, we use the analogy of who's the greatest hockey player to ever live. You know, the answer, you could say Gretzky or Lemieux or, you know, or Gordie Howe, but the answer is no one really knows because that person never played hockey, right? Because it's elite, you know, somewhat you have to live in a cold country. You have to, you know, be, you know, exposed, have the, you know, the money to afford the equipment, all those different things, right? So the greatest player never actually played hockey. And that same concept holds true for, I think, and this is one of the things that drives us for businesses, entrepreneurship, is that, you know, what are some of the greatest ideas? They never came to fruition because they were never given the opportunity to get out there and actually create those opportunities or to further them with the funding, the support, you know, that they maybe needed to get to that next level, right? So,
but you got to keep in mind that you have to create the opportunities.
Oh, yes. And
there's not a lot of people sitting there waiting for something magically to appear. And that goes the same thing with getting investment, right? You have to look at all the different avenues.
Of course.
You know, 10 years ago, there was no vehicles out there. When I started my first company, there wasn't a million mentors. There wasn't a million people that standing there with cash. It was very limited because it wasn't really a big opportunity. And today people see this as an opportunity vehicle and a way to generate revenues and values. So you just have to decide if your company fits in that stage, and or am I looking for these extra help to grow my company at a faster pace? It really does come down to speed versus I've got an idea and I'm just going to carry it on my own, which is fine. That's the best thing to do at the start. But if you're looking to accelerate yourself, then going for funding and utilizing all the vehicles, from the backers to the angels to VCs to public government money, there are so many avenues that you can look at, and figuring out which ones are going to benefit you in the growth of where you're trying to go to.
Yeah, and I think something that we sort of talk or preach to the to our issuers, if you will, is that of building their network, right? Building up their audience, which includes, you know, their customers, users, clients, but also suppliers, you know, other people that can support them, you know, whether it's angels or investors or their community, right? So you know, they talk about the public sector and support, you know, shred credits or other grants or other types of funding sources. So that's interesting. So I want to kind of take a slightly different angle. I just want to hear, what are your thoughts on what's happening right now with obviously COVID, the pandemic, you know, everything that's kind of happening. I don't want you to read the tea leaves, but or expect you to read the tea leaves and predict the future. But where do you see sort of the entrepreneurship space over the next, say, 3 months, you know, year? You know, I don't want to put words in your mouth either, but where do you see sort of entrepreneurship going in the next 3 months, say a year, and, you know, and investments in those businesses? What are you seeing, and where do you see it sort of going?
For sure. Before I jump on that, I wanted to add in one more thought around the female and the minority side and everything else. Is that I spoke maybe about 8 months ago at an event called Fembot, and they're fantastic, and it's all female focused. Yeah. And one of the things that I remember that was key to what we were talking about is that, you know, if you are reaching out for help as a minority or female founder, or even as a male founder, and you find that the people that you're working with, if it's mentors, coaches, investors, advisors, any of them, if they're mistreating you, or they're not treating you with respect, or giving you the direction that you're looking for, walk away. Yeah. You do not have to take any of that in this world today. There are so many vehicles and places you can go to. So don't feel that you're ever not in the spot, or that you're not allowed to be somewhere. You always are. And that's where you have to step up and move away from that, because it's bad. It's a virus. Walk away from it. It's the environment is so
negativity. Negativity is unnecessary.
Yeah. And I implore a lot of startups and founders to look for the people that they want to work with. It's not a diehard industry where there's nobody out there. Find the people that work with you and believe in you, because that's what's going to help you grow. You don't need to be bullied and pushed around. So again, I just wanted to share that. But outside that, to your question on kind of where things are going, as we're familiar, everything's gone quite digital. It was very digital before, but I think it's just been escalated up a few notches from doing school online to everything. The world can actually breathe easier now, which is kind of crazy that you can see further, breathe better, and open a window longer. But I think where does this go?
I saw an image, just to touch on that. The Himalayas, they can see the top of the Himalayas for the first time in like 30 or 50 years or something like that, because the skies have cleared up wherever.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's certain things like that.
That environment, but man, has the world changed from just having better air quality and everything else. So hopefully the world looks at this as a good thing to move forward with. But I think now you're going to start looking at, because people are used to video, they're going to be used to being at home a little bit longer. You know, would we be able to run an event and split it up and do some in person, some online, to do more, so allow more exposure? Hopefully that's the case. Are the markets going to take a little bit of a dip and a tank for a moment or two? 100%. Investors are going to be uncomfortable when hundreds of thousands of people are being laid off around the world a day. So it doesn't mean we need to create panic and hysteria. It means that we need to work better together and find ways to support a digital-based environment that allows for more people to work from home, more people to be comfortable, more people to spend time with their families, and being able to balance this out. I think there was a great quote that, and the lady, it's totally going to elude me on her name, but she sailed around the world, I think 3 times. And she said, look, we are physically locked up, but we're not mentally locked up, and we need to communicate more. So I think in the next few months, I think if we put a lot of focus on how people are communicating, how people are starting to work together, I think you'll find that a lot more people will be balanced and be able to work in this environment and not be fearful of, I don't need to see 1 million people a day, and this is actually going to cut back time and allow me to be more effective. What does that mean for startups? I think that just means that a lot of startups are going to have to pivot quickly to survive. and be building content and building things that are going to build around their community and around their sales and around their teams. And virtual is not a bad thing. I think I heard today through when I was speaking with Chris and Kate from Helix, he had mentioned, you know what, I have more calls now and I have more engagements because I've got no commute time and more people want my time. So it's being bucketed in shorter allotments. And I think that's phenomenal. That's how I love to work, is 30-minute meetings with startups all day. And it's all video. So it's just taking a different perspective to say, if this is the norm, or what is the norm in 3 months, how do we continue to build on what we have and or accommodate both realities?
Right.
And I think that that's what a lot of startups have to face with. Is my product really solving a big problem now? Or has the world shifted too much and my problem isn't really worth it? And can I shift into something that is going to benefit the world right now?
Right. And that's, I mean, I think for backers, I'll do our own little plug here. We are a digital investor onboarding tool, right? That's kind of what we've built. So I think this is, plays well into our hand. But it's interesting. You mentioned that whole pivoting again, right? I was talking with someone a couple of days ago, and I've read a few articles about the new norm, and that you basically have to reassess your business model or your business strategy, or even the idea that that you had sort of, a month ago or 2 months ago or January 1st or whatever sort of, and now you have to kind of look at how can you fit into this new normal, and whether we ever get back to, I don't think we'll ever go back to the way it was. I think everything will start to move more digitally. And like you said, this is, we're interacting, last time we met at a downtown city hall, and prior to that we met at an auto dealership. I think you and I went and met. Okay. Let's look at when's your next events, and just tell me a little bit, like, how are you guys hosting your events? Obviously I follow along on LinkedIn, and I see you on Instagram. How are you guys sort of moving forward with the Pitch It TO, Pitch It Durham, whatever the Pitch It series, and everything? How are you guys moving forward with that? And what have you been doing? I know you mentioned, I think you had one today, right? Or this morning. So what exactly are you guys how are you doing that? How are you handling it with your business?
For sure. So we've created some new touch points. We still run the pitch series, where tomorrow night will be our next one, which is Pitch at York.
Okay.
Seneca College. So that'll be done virtual tomorrow night at 5:30.
Okay, cool.
And we'll continue to do our pitch events.
Can they see it? Can people, if they're watching this, can they jump in online? Like, do you have what's the link?
You can go to opn.ninja. All the information's there to link to all of the events.
Okay, cool.
And we've created a new event which runs every Monday at 10 a.m. and it's called the Founders Funding Coach. And it's
couch, like sitting on a couch.
Sitting on a couch. Which we all, hopefully people.
We're all doing right now, right? Yeah.
We're all professional couch sitters, I guess.
Yeah.
So those ones are done with keynotes and panels, and they're just a different variety. So next week, we'll be doing one on mental health for startups. Okay. So that one will happen at 10 a.m. next week. And then the week after, we'll continue Ask an Angel. And what will end up happening there is that I will be interviewing an angel investor or a VC just on the types of things they're looking for in an investment, how they do their investments, all that stuff that keeps them moving forward. And going forward, we'll continue to do that series every other week. And then in between that, we run different keynote and panels. And those are just to educate and help startups work their way through this ecosystem, think a little bit differently. We'll be doing ones on customer service, operations, whatever that might be, so that it will hit a different segment of entrepreneur throughout. And I think the Skip the Line, our angel investment event, and City Hall, we're still trying to decide how we're going to operate those. If we let one of them slide for another 2 months, and that one might go back live. We'll see how it goes with the city and when the city turns back on. Right. And then City Hall, again, we'll have a couple pitches and our normal keynotes and panels, which will happen in May.
Cool.
So we're pretty much digital, right? There's not much else.
Yeah.
We love being digital. We started off being digital. We worked on digital throughout, and only about a year and a half ago, we turned down the digital feed because we found that having 2-3 people dial in wasn't that exciting. And now it'll be a lot different because we could probably have 100 people in person and 300 online. So now people are used to it, so they're going to want to do it, right?
Right. What are you using? That's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to start asking everyone is what are some of the digital platforms that you're using that if someone's out there watching, like you mentioned, content. I mean, we're doing this, Ask the Experts. You're the expert. We're 21 days. Tomorrow we have Joe Tilley, so I'll throw a little shout out, former CTV sports reporter. They're coming up, Joe Tilley. He'll be on tomorrow. We've got Jennifer Botterill, former women's gold medal champion, women's hockey gold medalist. Mike Weaver, former NHLer. So we got a lot of different people, a lot of angels or VCs or different people coming up over the next number of days. So we're trying to build sort of some content ourselves to give some guidance to our audience. But I'd love to hear your insight on technology. I know you're obviously very tech savvy personally. What are some of the tools that you're using? I mean, we're using Zoom right now, but what are some of the tools that you've come across or that other people in your sphere have talked about, maybe that you could lend some advice on?
For sure. Well, we use Zoom, and we're just reevaluating that right now if we're going to keep using it. We've run into some snags with it.
What would be an alternative to Zoom? What are you
there's
looking
a bunch
at?
of different ones. Blue Jeans is one.
Okay.
Let me see here. I've actually had a bunch of them open today, but there's a few different ones that we're trying to scan through to see what's going to be able to benefit the audience and allow us to stream. We'll figure that out over the next few days.
What would be? Do you have off the top of your head there some of the other ones? Blue Jean. What else would there be?
There's Blue Jean. There's Skype. There's Google
Skype.
Hangouts. Those are standard ones.
Yeah.
There's one other one that out of the UK that we just sent off a feed to see if we could get into that one, and it's only beta. So there's a couple other options. So.
Okay, cool. And then streaming. Are you using? So do you guys typically stream through are you on LinkedIn Live? I don't know if I've seen you guys on LinkedIn.
No, we haven't used LinkedIn Live yet, or Instagram or Facebook Live. We're just going into those now. We've only run 2 of our events so far on the Zoom platform.
Okay.
So now we're looking at how we can tie into all of those in one seamless approach.
Right.
Where we film it and then push it out to those different vehicles.
So I mentioned off air, but we use Wirecast. So that's so we'll film it and then edit it, and then we can push it live and do a lot of sort of editing in production editing. So it's good for live events if you're actually using a feed from a camera to then push out to Facebook Live, YouTube Live. I would assume LinkedIn Live if you have that capability. We don't have that capability. We're not cool enough yet, but you have to apply to LinkedIn. But yeah. Do you guys have that, or have you applied?
I'd have to ask Brian if he actually has that. I don't know. We'd have to check. That one I'm not sure if we have it yet. We haven't done it, but I'm sure that
there's an application process.
Do it, right?
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't know. Where can they find you on? I mentioned, obviously Instagram, LinkedIn, OPN. What are the handles where everyone can find you?
Yeah, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can go to Instagram, Facebook, all the above.
And what is it under?
It's under O People Network or Open People Network for the hashtag or the @ signs for both of them.
Okay.
And Open People Network on LinkedIn, or you can look up myself, which is Jeffery Potvin. And if you're looking to book a startup pitch meeting, a one-on-one meeting, you can go to opn.ninja/team/team, and you can find one of us there to book a meeting.
Cool. Awesome. Again, thank you very much, Jeffrey. I will always joke about that. I'll never get it right. But anyways, because you said you go by both. So anyways, thank you though for joining me. Any parting words that you want to say to the audience here? We probably have close to 1,000 people watching this, mostly entrepreneurs, business owners, people, running startups. What would you say if you had one piece of parting advice?
Think to where you want to be and make yourself get there. Forward think. If I want to be somewhere in 6 months, how am I going to get there? And if it's planning by 15-day increments, then where am I going to be in 15 days? If that means I need to do $1,000 in revenue, how am I going to get that $1,000 in revenue done? And then the next 15 days, the next 30, whatever it is, but plan where you want to be and then make that your target and go after it. And don't let anything get in the way of you getting to your target.
Cool. Plan ahead.
Plan
Awesome.
ahead, man.
Thank you very much again for joining me. Stay safe. I'm sure we'll get in touch sooner rather than later. We are launching, Backers is launching the very first campaign. I'll just let you know, and the audience, Backers is launching the very first campaign on the Backers platform. We ourselves will be raising funds for Backers. So all you angels or all you people out there, investors, you'll have a chance to invest in Backers, in the Backers platform, using the Backers platform, which is kind of cool, because we just recently got OSC approval about three weeks ago. We got sort of the green light to move forward. So we will be launching that April 27th. So Backers will be raising on April 27th, and you can jump in. So stay tuned for that, as you and you out there watching. Again, thank you for joining me. This is Powered by Backers. Jeffery, Potvin, we're on Ask the Experts. I will see you guys again tomorrow.